Hey, welcome back, WAVETalks. We've got Tim Eberts back on the line today from New Orleans. Hi, Tim.
How you doing?
I'm Chris Parvin, newest guy in marketing for Wave Electronics. We're going to talk a little bit deeper, like we mentioned in the previous podcast, about commercial audio. So without further ado, Tim, is there anything that we talked about that you want to kind of recap, or should I just kind of do a summary of what people need to go back and hear in Commercial 101?
Yeah, if you want to just go back and do a quick summary, that'd be great.
The most important thing, I think, was that we said it's super easy. It's not intimidating. We also spent a little time defining commercial audio, setting it apart from, obviously pro, like in a studio, or pro in a PA setting. It is not those things. This is restaurants, bars, doctor's offices. You described it as 80 to 90% background music, and that's kind of its application, right?
Correct.
Under the topic of, it's a new category, not only for Wave under Elura commercial audio, but it's going to be really important to our dealers that it's new to them, because they're seeing these same customers either in their homes or their businesses. So it's a real easy onboard to be in the commercial or commercial light audio space, right?
Correct. You already have the clientele. You've already spent the money on marketing. You're already in and out of their businesses, their homes. Why not sell them one more thing?
Yeah, right. Perfect. Okay, so for today, let's go into technology, and I'm going to kind of let you just guide us, because we talked about buzzwords, we talked about taps, we talked about, some systems are mixers with amplifiers built in, microphone ducking. Maybe you can just talk for a few minutes about why the technology itself is not intimidating and how it differs from high-end the home audio integration that we're already doing.
Sure. So first of all, your home audio systems are usually stereo at minimum. And then when you get into your entertainment rooms, multi-channel. So one room might have a 9-channel with a subwoofer. So it's many speaker wires running back to a home location. With commercial audio, we're not doing stereo. We're trying to cover large areas with even music coverage. So first of all, stereo's out the window, because you don't want to have speakers in a large space where the right comes on with no left. So that's going to really sound funny. And from a wiring standpoint, that's a mess. Whereas with 70-volt commercial audio, you run one 2-conductor for all the speakers in a space. And then if you have multiple zones, let's say you have a dining area and then you have a bar area, well, then you would run a second 2-conductor for the bar area. And if you have bathrooms, then you run a third 2-conductor for that area. So you can zone these systems if you'd like. You could also run the entire place off one 2-conductor by using what you mentioned earlier, which are taps. So most commercial audio speakers have taps on them. And what those taps do is they allow you to change the wattage that goes to that specific speaker on a single 2-conductor daisy chain. And that's how this works. You go from speaker to speaker to speaker in parallel, and you can run 30, 40, 50 speakers off of a single amplifier. It will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 10 years. It's very robust systems. And if you have areas that, let's say, for example, you have a complicated ceiling where maybe you've got some lower ceiling heights in one area and you've got higher ceiling heights in another area, you can still run the 1 2-conductor and just change the taps on the speaker. So you could run the speakers that are on the lower ceiling area at 4 watts. And then the speakers that are in the higher ceiling area, you could run those speakers at, let's say 12 watts, or whatever your taps are, because all the different brands and model speakers have a similar setup, but maybe different numbers on the taps, so to speak.
Okay. So the idea, the way you just kind of visualized it for me, is that I've got power coming out of an amplifier that's, back in the kitchen, let's say, and in the dining area where the ceiling is a drop ceiling versus in the bar where it's maybe suspended or there's no drop ceiling. With these taps, balance the power each speaker is getting so that it sounds linear, even as I'm just walking through the restaurant.
Correct. And that's the idea behind commercial and 70-volt audio, to get an even sound all the way throughout the space without hot spots where it's really loud and another section where you can't hear anything. You want to have an even cover. That's goal one with commercial 70-volt audio.
Got it. And so that would even stand to reason with if I'm a busy restaurant and I've got not a patio, but I've got people waiting out in front of the restaurant, I can have speakers in that, with the landlord's permission, I can have speakers outside as well and in the bathroom, and everything is even. Nothing is louder than the other.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Walk me through system design then. So how does a customer that maybe has a small restaurant and a bar versus somebody that's got 2 or 3 dining rooms and a big bar area that maybe gets a little wild after 10 o'clock? I mean, is it possible to just keep adding speakers, or is there an equation to figure out how many speakers, how much volume in each of those areas, which amp do I need?
Sure. So let's back up real quick to the head end. So at the head end, we're going to have some sort of an amplifier and some sort of a source. In a lot of cases nowadays, people are using Sonos ports as their source because they can get commercial Pandora, which is you do need to purchase commercial streaming service for businesses. That's a law, actually. You have to have pay copyright stuff when you're using it for business. So at your head end, what a lot of people would have done is put a home audio receiver and run some speakers at 2-channel and use speaker selectors. And the problem is, A, that equipment's not designed for commercial use, 24-hour day or even 16-hour day use.
Yeah.
B, the power's not right. So this is 8 ohms, and you would have to use all kind of speaker selectors, and you're just not going to get a good even sound. And then C, there's some things in commercial that we don't do in residential. We have microphones at, say, the reception desk. We have a phone system that maybe they broadcast over a phone system. So paging in general is something you don't see in home audio equipment, right? So what these commercial amps allow you to do is take you run a simple 2-conductor mic wire to the podium or wherever their reception area is. And then when she keys that microphone, these commercial mixer amplifiers automatically duck the audio, and you can duck a certain area. You can duck the whole restaurant. It's literally all up to you in programming, and allow the receptionist to go ahead and make that call, and then the system will come back off ducking and jump back up to normal volume. Or it's a built-in mix. It just mixes it automatically. The volume stays the same, but then the microphone comes on and then it goes right back off again when you turn it off. Same thing with phone systems. You can page through phone systems, and that stuff will automatically talk over the music when you're using a commercial mixer amplifier. From an infrastructure standpoint, the only differences are you have to run 2-conductor mic cable, which is basically a 2-conductor with a ground or what they call a drain wire. It's powered by the mixer amplifier, which is called phantom power. So again, these are things that home audio receivers don't have. This is specific to commercial audio amplifiers and mixers. And then when it comes to wiring the speakers, again, 1 2-conductor. So we're not having to run multiple sets of large conductor speaker wire. We can do 30 speakers off of a 18 gauge 2-conductor, and then we just have to do some math. And really it comes down to wattage. So once you've designed, let's say, for example, you're doing a medium-sized restaurant and they have, let's say, 12 speakers in the main dining. They've got 4 speakers in the bar area. They've got a speaker in each bathroom. Maybe they have 2 speakers outdoors in the waiting area and 1 speaker in the reception area. Well, once you figure out what you're going to tap these speakers at, based on the amount of volume the customer wants, the restaurant owner, if it's just background music, you might only be using 4 watts a speaker. So you just run the math, add it all up, and if it comes out, let's say it comes out to 100 watts, just to make numbers easy. We got 100 watts of speaker requirement. Now we need to look at what amplifier we're going to buy. Well, we're not going to buy a 100-watt amplifier because 1, it doesn't leave us any room for expansion, and 2, you don't want to run the amp at full 100 watt the entire time. You actually want to leave 20% headroom over the 100 watts. So we would want to run at least a 120 watt amplifier. In that instance that I just gave, you would more than likely purchase a 200 watt because they come in kind of 50 watt, 100 watt, 200 watt, 400 watt. So you'd buy a 200 watt amplifier, which would give you A, the headroom you need for the 100 watts that you're going to be using currently, and B, a little more headroom. Let's say they add another area to the patio. Who knows? Maybe they put some speakers, around in the garden area towards out the front. You just don't know. So yeah, that's how you would size it. And that's the equipment you would use at the head end would be what they call a mixer amplifier.
And I know we're not going to get into SKU level stuff here, but is there a situation that you would have the mixer amp as, call it the starter, but then let's say build on a dining room and I want to add 40 more speakers, and then I want to just add a slave amplifier to run
Sure.
those 40 speakers, that also can continue to be expanded?
Correct. So you can add
Got
a
it.
remote amplifier. These mixer amps have an output to go
Okay.
to a secondary amplifier. Now,
Yep.
again, we're still talking one zone, so you can only play
Yeah.
a single source throughout the entire space. So we're talking a basic one zone system that covers a large area. Now you can go one step above that by adding volume controls into the system to where if you wanted to maybe be able to control each area of the restaurant volume independently. Again, same source still. We're playing that one Sonos port and that one microphone,
Yep.
or maybe from a cable box, whatever we're sourcing audio from, throughout the entire space. But you can install 70-volt volume controls, and again, they don't add resistance to the system. You don't have to add wattage for them. You can put as many as you want. So even if you have the restaurant main dining area and maybe you want to break it up into two sections so you can maybe turn the volume down a little more in one area, that can
Yeah.
easily be done with 70-volt volume controls. It's just a matter of running your wire to wherever those volume controls are going to lie. And then,
And those volume controls would be, let's say, in a specific room. So the guy in the bar could, the bartender could actually turn it down if there's some, guy making
sure,
a
you could
speech or
take
something.
Correct. You could take that one two conductor that we left wherever our communications room is. We left that
Yeah.
room. That two conductor ran all the way around to the bar. Now, let's say they decide later on, you know what, we want to be able to control the volume here in the bar a little bit because sometimes we got to turn it up because it gets rowdy. So what
Yeah.
you would do is they would take that two conductor, run it down to the volume control, and then go right back up again and out to the four speakers or how many speakers are in that bar area,
Yeah.
giving them some ability to attenuate or turn down that set or turn up.
Right.
You can also mount the volume controls all in the rack with the amplifier. They make
Oh,
rack mount volume
yeah.
controls, and you just put a nameplate on the bottom of each volume control, and you could have all the parts of the restaurant controlled right there from the head end. Again, this is what I hate to use the word basic, but this is what you would call a basic zone system where you're still only have one source, but the volume can be changed from multiple locations.
Got it. So let me ask you, let's just take a little sidebar
Sure.
here.
Sure.
So let's assume that we have some customers listening to this podcast that up till now they're like, yeah, 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 we do all that already. What's your more complex customer doing? What does the Wave branch bring in experience for a more complicated system that we haven't even discussed yet?
Right. So you're getting into what you would call multi-source, multi-zone, right? So
Okay.
this is a matrixed system where you have multiple sources going into a single head-end device, and then that device is controlling what sources go to what zones. We do have a couple products that we sell currently from Atlas, known as the Atmosphere system. This is a 4 or 8 zone system that they sell. It's very, very simple to program. And this system allows you to bring in audio sources from multiple locations. Again, we're talking about the microphone at the reception desk, maybe the phone system where they can page the phone system. But now we can also add in a source from the TV at the bar or the
Mm-hmm.
TV that's in the main dining room. And you can bring all those sources into this main unit and then distribute it out to each zone independently. Now, from a wiring standpoint, it is a little more advanced because you have to run individual speaker runs out to the individual zones. You're going to have multi-channel amplifiers now instead of a single mono amplifier. They have 2, they have 4, and they have 8 zone amplifiers. And these larger amplifiers can accommodate all the different zones. So we'll go back to our hypothetical restaurant that we were working on. Let's say we'll go with reception area. We're going to go with outside, main dining, bar, bathrooms, and let's throw the kitchen in there. And let's also throw in a general purpose room that they rent out for parties, they rent out for conferences, whatever, right? So
Right.
now we have 7 zones of audio. So now you would have 7 sets of 2 conductors running in from the head end. You run out the outdoor speakers, that's a home run. You run the reception area, that's a home run. We have a mic in the reception area, that's a home run. Then we have the speakers in the main dining. We have the speakers in the rental room. We have the speakers from the bathroom, speakers from the bar, speakers from the kitchen area. Bar has a TV. We're going to want to run that audio back from the TV back to the system. So we're going to come out of the back of that television. Now on these systems, I can take the TV audio from the bar and play that on the bar speakers. And then I can take the TV audio from the main dining and I can play that on those speakers. Could be two completely different games. Reception, house music, right? Front porch or outdoor area, house music. Bathroom,
Yeah.
house music. Kitchen,
Yeah.
maybe the kitchen, they want to play something totally different. So they could have their own audio source just for the kitchen. So
Got
these
it.
systems allow you to multi-source to multi-zone. They also add some flexibility when it comes to these rental rooms or these multi-purpose rooms that a lot of restaurants have, to where you can mount a wall plate that has a Bluetooth adapter that connects directly to the atmosphere system. And it's super simple. You literally walk up to it, you hit the button, it wipes all Bluetooth that was ever linked to it. The customer who rented the room links their phone to it, and the system will automatically override everything else that was playing in that room and start playing that Bluetooth in the ceiling automatically. Nothing
That's cool.
the receptionist or the hostess or the waitress or the waiter, the manager, nobody has to understand how it works. Hit the button,
Yeah.
link your phone. Now they're having a party and they're playing their own music in the private room. So
Yeah.
these are more advanced features that can be done with the atmosphere system that really expand what a basic distributed audio system can be.
That's great. So it sounds like we know how to get our dealers started if they've never done it. We know how
Yes.
to help our dealers get more complicated if they've got some experience and make them successful. We have the products either ready to go or some of these new Elura commercial audio products are on the way.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about installation? Is there anything, because I know you had talked about sometimes if it's a new build restaurant, there's blueprints to deal with and you can get in advance and do a lot of work before you really need it to be there. Or a retrofit restaurant. Is there anything that is knowledge that we can share about the installation side of it?
Well, sure. And that's another thing about using commercial products in a commercial installation. The speakers are designed specifically for commercial atmosphere. Well, most of your commercial installs are two types: drop ceiling, where you've got ceiling tiles with a ceiling grid, or open ceiling, where you have exposed grid, exposed beams.
Right.
So you have to have the proper mounting equipment to do those things. You cannot take a home audio speaker and attach it to a ceiling, to cut a hole in a ceiling tile, attach it. In 6 months, that ceiling tile is going to be sagging because it can't hold the weight. It's not made to do that, and it's not safe. Commercial speakers come with a tile, what's called a tile bridge. And it actually is usually it's metal, sometimes plastic, but usually it's metal. And it expands all the way out to the edges. So the weight of the speaker is carried by the ceiling grid,
Got
not
it.
the tile itself.
Yeah.
These speakers also have rings on the back to attach a second safety point via a cable. So you loop it over some structure above in the ceiling, you come down
Yeah.
and you attach the back of the speaker.
Right.
And then, of course, you have things like pendant speakers where they are suspended. When a lot of restaurants now, they went with these open ceiling plans where there is no ceiling tile. You see the
Yeah.
you see the exposed AC and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So pendant speakers, it's a fully enclosed speaker. It's ported, so you get good bass response, and it is suspended by a cable to the ceiling and then hung. So they don't even make anything like that in a residential. That has to be a commercial speaker. So
Yeah.
it also has the proper aesthetics. So the interior designers and the people that are designing these types of restaurants, that they know what that is, that pendant style speaker. Now, our speakers, like our pendant speakers, are going to come with everything you need to do all that. Ceiling tile comes in the box. Our pendants come with the cable and what's called a grippler. It's a locking device that locks the cable. So you don't have to have any special tools. It's very, very easy to do.
And when you say lock the cable, you mean for safety or for like
For suspension.
distance from the bar?
Correct. So you basically loop that cable over whatever the structure is you're attaching your pendant speakers to. The grippler grabs onto it and holds the wire, and that's it. It locks it in place.
We didn't spend much time talking. Maybe you can work at both about the installation of subwoofers, because I think we've talked about in-ceiling subwoofers, and then maybe more standard 8-ohm subwoofers that might be just hidden in the bar somewhere. A 70-volt amplifier has the ability to run both an 8-ohm subwoofer and 40, 70-volt speakers. Can you walk through that a little bit?
Yes. So you have two different styles of laying out a audio system in 70 volt. One of them is just a straight 70 volt system. I don't want to say downfalls, but one of the differences with 70 volt is the fact that we use these transformers that are in every speaker. It takes that 70 volt signal, converts it to 8 ohm, and that's what drives the woofer cone. The problem is you lose a little bass. So a lot of these commercial audio speakers will roll off around 65 hertz, 70 hertz or so. So the lower
Got it.
frequencies tend to not be as pronounced.
Yeah.
This can be solved two ways. If it's just background music, you can just add a 70-volt subwoofer. They make them in ceiling. They make them pendant style. In fact, we have an 8-inch pendant subwoofer coming, where you would just put it in the daisy chain with all your 70 volts. So the wiring portion of it's just as simple as the rest of the speakers. It adds a little bass reinforcement.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about a bar, or we're talking about somewhere where we need more bass, so we still want the large coverage and the simple installation of 2-conductor to all our speakers. But I want more bass. I want to be able, in the afternoons, when the bar starts to get a little cranking, I want to turn some bass up. In those instances, we usually use an 8-ohm subwoofer, in ceiling, floor. There's a bunch of different configurations for that. And we have an 8-ohm amplifier that's piggybacking off of our head-end mixer amplifier or matrix, and allowing us to get a little bit more of those low frequencies and a little more bass response in those areas.
If I want to EQ, if you will, the bar to have a little bump, is that done right in the mixer amp?
So the mixer amp's just going to give you an output, right? So the mixer amp basically has its own amplifier internally that runs the 70 volt, and then it has an RCA out. That is a constant out. You have no real way of controlling that. So you would just put your 8-ohm amplifier, commercial amplifier, and you'd run that to your subwoofers, and you would set the gains on that amp to where it equals out for you. If you wanted control over that subwoofer, or you wanted to do something more advanced to where maybe after 9 o'clock the subwoofer kicks up, that can all be done in the Atmosphere system, where we now have digital control over that subwoofer channel.
Okay.
And we could do that in programming at 9 p.m. on Friday night. The speakers in the bar bump up so many dB, and the subwoofer bumps up. You can do all that in programming.
Got it. But Sunday brunch, we back it back down.
Sunday brunch, no subwoofer. Just mimosas.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I know the one thing we wanted to mention for dealers that hadn't heard before, this initiative for Wave is a new category, and the dealers that are interested need to get to the link for a VIP access.
Yeah.
It'll be in the note, but you can find it in your inbox too. Wave emails has the information in there, but I'll put it in the write-up here. And I think that we're literally around the corner from pricing and programs and availability. So
yes,
dealers that want to get involved need to get signed up so that they get in line first. Can you think of anything that we didn't touch on that you want to mention?
I would just like to say that again, and I think we said this in the first podcast, but I think people just need to understand that they just got to get outside their comfort zone for 30 seconds. And I'm telling you, once you've done one of these systems with the help of a Wave Electronics salesperson to help walk you through the design, get the job sold, and rely on our tech team to help you with anything you might have a problem with on the installation, although it is very straightforward. There are a couple little things that are different that once you've done it once, you're like, oh, that's how that works. It's that easy.
Kind of becomes second nature.
Oh, it instantly. I mean, I can't tell you how many customers here in New Orleans we've converted over from using home audio receivers and a pair of outdoor speakers or multiple outdoor to doing true commercial audio. And now these guys are selling commercial systems left and right.
Got it.
They're outbidding the big guys, these big national commercial audio companies that don't even live in your area. And our guys are going out there and bidding against these big companies and winning bids. So it's
nice.
It's definitely something to add to your repertoire and get in there and just do one. That's all I can tell you. Do one and you'll be sold.
Nice. All right. Well, Tim Eberts, Wave Electronics in New Orleans. A pleasure to speak with you again. And I look forward to seeing all this come to fruition for all of us.
Me too. I'm excited.
All right, man. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, buddy.
Talk again.
Yes, sir.